Welcome back to BullyBall. We have our pregame primer that we do every week before the game. We do it an hour before kickoff, so tune in and let's talk about what we're going to look forward to in the game today. 49ers versus Vikings in Minnesota. And one thing that I would like to mention is just how beautiful the Minnesota stadium is. Have you seen it before?
Yeah, I've seen the pictures and stuff. It looks crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy how all these new stadiums look insane. And the 49er stadium was made around the same time as all these other ones. But,
Hmm.
love Levi's, but it's not flashy, you know,
Yep, definitely.
just a normal run of the mill stadium. But it is what it is. All right. So 49ers have 27 players not playing today. As you expect, it's most of the starters.
I
Some
can.
notable. Go ahead.
I'll go over it real quick, just
Yeah.
since we have time. So we have Trey Lance, Jimmy G, of course, Eli Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, Juszczyk, Brandon Ayuk, Debo, George Kittle, Charlie Warner, which is kind of surprising since Charlie Warner hasn't really played. I mean, I guess if he's just got cleared, that makes sense. But you'd think that they would want to get him some reps. But um, Daniel Brunskill, Jake Brendel, Mike McGlinchey, Trent Williams, Jalen Moore. Is there something wrong with Jalen Moore?
Yeah,
Is he
he's
hurt?
injured. Yeah,
Oh, he's
I don't
hurt.
know what's wrong
Okay,
with him, but he's injured.
gotcha. Colton McKivitz, Samson Ebukam, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Aziz Alshire, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Curtis Robinson, Manuel Mosley, Trevarius Ward, Jimmy Ward, Dante Johnson, and Talanoa Hufanga.
So, some interesting things with that list is obviously your star players are not going to play, but in this second preseason game, a lot of your players that are going to make the roster for sure and or start are probably not playing. So, some interesting ones to me are Jeff Wilson Jr. We kind of have heard the past couple weeks like, hey, he's a lock. He's probably going to get a lot of run. But that was kind of surprising to us because we thought he was going to be fighting for that last running back spot. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel, and if you've watched our channel for the past few months, you know how I feel about Jeff Wilson. I'm not too big on him personally, so I could not big fan of it.
Supposedly he looks a lot better because they said he's a year recovered from that injury. So maybe he's back to that 29, or was it 2020 season, or was it 2019 when he was
2019,
yeah.
2019. Yeah.
So maybe I guess we'll see soon enough. Another guy is Jake Brendel not playing. So we kind of knew like, hey, he won the center spot because the Brunskill injury, but you still thought he would probably get some reps in this game. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, like you said, he's locked in at center now with Brunskill being out for 4 to 6 weeks, I think it was. So you can't afford it. If he gets hurt, then you're really screwed because you really don't have anybody that can play unless you want Donovan West to start. So makes sense that he's not playing.
And then the last interesting one to me was Colton McKivitz. Um, kind of up and down. Like people kind of had him as a lock to make the team. Hasn't really performed too well. So
You know what
that,
he's kind of reminding me of? Kind of like Brunskill before last year, you know, when it was like his rookie or second year, and he was like the swing offensive lineman where he's playing guard and tackle, and he would
yeah.
just fill in like that. This McKivitz is kind of reminding me of that right now. You know what I mean? Like he can play guard. He's been playing tackle, so they're probably trying to keep him fresh. Is kind of having that like swing lineman.
And yeah, I think it was last year, where Sean Coleman was this swing tackle. That was
Yeah.
last year, correct? He got hurt in the preseason, and then we were kind of screwed with the whole swing tackle thing. So it does make sense for them to be more cautious this year with that. Um, we did just see Trey Sermon will be suiting up today. Supposedly he got injured during the joint practices this week, his ankle, I believe it was. So it'll be interesting to see how much he plays. Hasn't really shown much to me, at least. Um, I need to see some things today. I really do. Or he might be the one on the chopping block for me. What do
Yep.
you think
I
about that?
agree. I agree 100%. Um, definitely needs to. That's one thing I'm going to be looking for this game is to see, which running back is going to step up because you have Eli Mitchell, who's kind of the bell cow number one right now, but who's going to take the number two spot? Is it going to be Ty Davis Price, Trey Sermon, Jeff Wilson, I guess, but that's whatever. Jermichael Hasty. There's still, I feel like there's still two or three, probably. I mean, I guess it depends on if we're considering Jeff Wilson a lock or not, but there's probably like two or three running back spots that are open between like 4 or 5 guys. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
somebody needs to really separate themselves in these next 2 preseason games to lock in a spot for sure.
And yeah, it's interesting because that last preseason game, no running back really stood out to me in any way.
Yeah.
Ty Davis Price had a couple okay runs. Jordan Mason had a couple decent runs at the end of the game, but nobody really did too much. So I'd like to see somebody stick out today, like, hey, I'm a lock.
Yeah.
Um, and with that said, Baldy, what's his first name?
Brian, I think it's
Brian
Brian
Baldy.
Baldinger,
Yeah,
Baldinger or
he
whatever.
did a breakdown of Ty Davis Price after last week's game. And I'm not a professional coach or anything, but man, he was saying like, hey, this dude's he looked good. He's doing everything good. It looked like to me he was missing huge holes. Like he was showing the film and I saw huge holes that he was missing. But it is what it is. We'll see today how it goes.
Yep. Before we move on, if you guys are watching right now, go ahead, drop a comment. Let us know you're watching. If you want to come on and talk some ball with us too, let us know. We can send you the link so we can talk some ball before this game.
Yeah, and we are up to 80 subscribers. We're getting close to our number. Our number's 100 before the first game. Before we do our pregame primer on the Bears game, well, during that time, we want to be at 100. So
Hmm.
if you're here, subscribe. Thanks if you already are subscribed for supporting.
And we're coming up with some sort of giveaway for once we hit 100 subscribers too. So
Yep. So make sure you're here. Um, Another thing to note for this game: Viking stars are not playing as well. Obviously, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Harrison Smith, Zadarius Smith, Daniil Hunter, and a bunch of their other starters. I just wanted to name off like their star players. So, battle of the backups today. Who are some players that you are watching today? Who do you want to see play well and who do you want to see get a lot of playing time?
yep. Before we move on, our mom is at the stadium today, and she says the stadium definitely needs an update. We agree. Some players that I'm looking forward to seeing play today. There's one interesting thing that defensively, all 49er starters are not playing this week. The only one that is Javon Kinlaw. And, we kind
Two,
of mentioned him. There's 2 players.
Samuel
Who else?
Womack.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess. Uh, but Kinlaw's notable, because he's one of the bigger names, I would say. So that's interesting that he's still out there. We kind of talked about it last week that he definitely didn't get that starter's treatment to where he played a drive or two and was out. He played most of the first half. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much run he's going to get this game for sure. Um,
Yeah.
but some players that I'm looking forward to are, I want to see Sam Womack. I want to see if he can follow up that performance. Even if he doesn't get the interceptions, I just want to see the coverage. I want to see that sticky coverage. Um, Same with Ambry Thomas. The reports have been that he's been down this training camp, so it would be nice to see him, lock some dudes up for sure. I think that'd be good. What do you think about those two guys?
Yeah, I really want to see some from Ambry Thomas today. Sam Womack, people have been talking about him all camp. Hey, the dude looks good. We have not heard almost any good reports about Ambry Thomas yet, which is it's unfortunate. You want to see the dude do good. He came through in a big moment last year. Um, you'd like to see something today. It doesn't have to be some flashy, just some good coverage. It's all we're asking for.
Yep, definitely. Another guy that I'm looking forward to is Quantrez Knight, who is going to be another player that's in competition for that slot corner position. Him and Sam Womack seem to be the only two guys that are really left to fight for that spot. Maybe Dante Johnson as well. So I'm really interested to see how Quantrez Knight plays because I've seen some people report that he's been playing pretty well throughout camp as well. So I'm interested to see him because I didn't really notice him the last preseason game. Did you?
No, I didn't either. But I have heard some good stuff coming out of camp. He did have an interception on Kirk Cousins in the joint practices this week, so it's a good sign. We would like to see him get some more playing time.
Yeah, definitely. Another player I'm interested. I'm just kind of going over defense right now. Personally, I think it's good that none of the starters are playing because I'm not too worried about the starters. It's more about the depth. I want to see Tarvarius Moore bounce back. We kind of talked about it last podcast. They didn't have the best game. He got burnt on that slot fade by Romeo Dobbs or Daubs, whatever. I would like to see Tarvarius kind of reel it back in. Show us what he did in 2019. I'm definitely interested to see it bounce back because I think that's big. If he can bounce back big this game, I think that'd go a long way. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and like we had said, all of the starting DBs not playing. So Hufanga looks to be locked in as the starter at that spot. But as we know, Jimmy Ward probably isn't going to play week 1. So is it going to be Tavarius Moore or is it going to be George Odom? That's something we'd like to see answered hopefully today, but we'll see how that goes. So I'm watching those two as well.
Yep. Do you have anybody else on the defensive side that you like to look out for? Drake Jackson,
Yes,
of course.
Drake Jackson, yes. But one that I am interested in is he was signed this offseason. Hassan Ridgeway. He has not been around. He's been injured. Haven't heard about like almost anything about him during camp. So as we know, the 49ers interior depth on the D line is pretty thin at the moment. So like to see some Hassan Ridgeway, see what he's about.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so overall, there's only 3 49ers starters that are playing today. One, which is Javon Kinlaw, who we touched on a little bit. And then the 2 starting guards in Aaron Banks and Spencer Burford. So a lot of the depth guys are going to get playing time. That's what I like about preseason. You get to see the guys that you usually don't get to. So I'm excited. It's going to be a fun one for sure.
Yep.
Let's move on to the offensive side of the ball. Who are you excited to see today on the offensive side?
So obviously we have Aaron Banks and Burford. They're both playing today, which they are starters to say, but um, obviously they need all the reps they can get. So it's good to see them playing today. and you'd like to see the run game get going a little bit. The offensive line did not really help the running backs at all last week. Um, you'd like to see a little more today. We've heard they've been struggling all camp. So if those two guys are starters, you want to see something good today, especially playing all backups the whole game.
Yep, 100%. We said that they played pretty well throughout the game last week, but I'm still a little skittish to see their pass protection, because I think both of them could probably use a little bit of work. But like you said, if they're going against the backups, we should see some stone walls for sure when it comes to the pass protection.
Yes. And then another player today. So we don't have Jake Brendel, and obviously Brunskill's out. It was reported this week at camp that Nick Zakel was taking center snaps. So are we going to see Nick Zakel play center today? I hope so, because I think that's probably his only shot at making the roster. So that's another player I'm looking out for today. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I agree. Versatility between those depth alignment is really what's going to make you stand out versus the others. So, like on one of our guys, Jason Poe, I would like to see him get some center reps too, because the more positions you can play, the more valuable you are, especially if you're fighting to make the back end of the roster. Um, so if Poe could have both guard versatility and then also some center versatility, maybe throw it in there. I think that would go a long way in getting him on that roster. So I would definitely be interested to see those guys. But Zakel as well, he was actually a draft pick, so he definitely needs to have that versatility.
It's also one of those things where it's a little like it's kind of a warning sign. Like when we saw who was it, Trey Sermon last week, they said was fielding punts.
Hmm.
That's a warning sign. Like, hey man, you got to do something because you're on the edge of being out of here. So Nick Zakel, hopefully he plays good today. We'll see how that goes.
One guy I'm not looking forward to seeing playing. Can you take a guess?
Does his last name start with an S?
Yes. Yeah, Justin School. Definitely not excited to see him play, man. If it's anything like last week, it's gonna be a rough day for Sutfield and Purdy. It's gonna be rough if it's like anything from last week.
I will say though, is watch for Jordan Mills because at the back end of last week's game, him and Poe on the right side of that O line, they were opening up massive holes for the running game, and they were pass blocking okay. So look out for Jordan Mills. He's my sneaky guy that I think is going to make the 53-man roster.
Um, so it is reported that Keaton Sutherland, I think that's his name, is gonna be starting at center today.
Yeah, and he was the second center to come in last week, so it makes sense.
Hmm. Definitely.
Another
Go ahead.
Another guy I'm looking forward to seeing today is our guy Jawan Jennings. We haven't seen anything from him yet this off season. He had one good catch I saw in the joint practices, but I want to see something from my guy. He was making huge plays last season, and we've heard there's that grip on that third wide receiver spot. It's kind of slipping to Ray Ray. So both of those dudes and a Danny Gray and all three of them.
Yep.
So the backup wide receiver slots, fierce competition, and you love to see it. So I'm watching all them today.
Yeah, definitely. Um, let's say that Kinlaw, ends up playing most of the first half again this week. What do you think that tells us as fans? What do you think from the outside looking in?
It's hard to say at the moment with Armstead not playing right now, because obviously, I don't know. It's hard. Kevin Givens is playing.
I
I
think
don't
so.
think he was on
I'm
the
pretty
list.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's still so hard to say because I still think Kinlaw is going to be a starter. I think it's going to be Armstead and Kinlaw, but at the same time, if he's playing that many reps and he's not making an impact like last week, it's hard to say, man, But then it also comes down to roster politics. Are they going to start Kevin Givens, who I believe was undrafted, over Kinlaw? Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's really hard to say. But that is why
Yeah.
I also wanted to see Hassan Ridgeway today. So
Yeah. I mean, it could also be because Kinlaw hasn't played a lot of NFL football. You know what I mean? Because last year was his rookie year, right?
it was his second year, but he didn't
Last
play.
so
I
he
think
played his so last year was what, 21? We
I
took him in
believe he
20.
was 20. Yeah, because I'm pretty
He
sure
came in
last
with
year was
IU.
his.
So yeah,
Yeah,
last
yeah.
year was his second year.
He
Yeah.
just got hurt right away.
Yeah. So, they could just be trying to knock off that rust. He didn't play much of at all last year. And then they could just be trying to get him some reps, trying to knock off that rust before the regular season starts. But it's also risky because you are putting him in there and he could get an injury. You know what I mean? I mean, anybody
Yep.
could get an injury, but he already had a pretty significant one. So it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
interesting, but he needs the reps. We
Yeah.
saw last week and it didn't look too good. I mean, we didn't watch film. We didn't watch film back, but we saw him getting kind of blown off the ball a little bit. Um, saw some highlight plays at the joint practices this week, but you just want to see more. Just get him on the field more.
Yeah.
Um, and also, I still want to see more out of the backup DNs. We didn't see much at all from them last week. Drake Jackson kind of showed out a little bit, but he got injured quick, pretty early on. Charles Omenahu, he's a guy we're high on. You want
Did
to
he
see some
play?
more out of him.
Did he play last week?
I would assume so. He's
Hmm.
not I don't think
I
he's a
don't.
lock.
I don't know if he did. I don't. I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. 'Cause, like, if he did, like you said, we definitely didn't hear anything about him.
I know Jordan Willis played. He was a
Yeah.
guy that showed some flashes the previous year. Didn't see him. Kerry Hyder played. I saw him get a couple pressures, but nothing like too crazy. So you just want to see more out of those guys.
Yeah.
Um,
Um.
who who do you think out of those backup DNs ends up being the first guy off the bench?
So
We're assuming it's Bosa and
Abu Khan
Abu Kam starting.
on the
Who's
other
first guy
side.
off the bench?
First guy off the bench. I mean, honestly, I'd probably have to say it's Drake Jackson, just because I think he's probably looked the best, at least in that last preseason game. And roster politics, he was their second round pick, so he's gonna be getting playing time for sure. But that's a hard one because we know what Kerry Hyder can bring to the table since he's already been on the team, and Chris Kasarik already knows Kerry Hyder as well, being his coach, obviously. And then Kamoko Toure, I didn't think he looked too great last week, but everybody else was saying that he looked phenomenal, that he was flying around, making tackles. I thought he lost contain on the edge a couple times, but I'm not a coach. I'm just a fan. So,
Yeah, I saw him. He blew up like that fourth down play or something, and that's what everyone was really hype on.
mhm,
I didn't see many pass rush moves though.
yeah,
And, that's what the 49ers are. They're the pass rush gods. So
yeah.
that's what we like to see.
But yeah, I'd probably say Drake Jackson would be the first one behind Ebukam and Bosa, I would assume.
I agree.
Yeah.
I could agree with that. Yeah, I heard Nick Bosa was just dominating them all week, like harassing them. Uh, People are thinking he's in line for defensive MVP this year. What do you
Yeah,
think about that?
yeah, definitely a possibility. I know that he could have been in the running a couple times. He had a great rookie year, and then his second year he got hurt. Last year he was on like I think it was like probably at mid-season he was on track for a crazy like almost record-breaking season, and then he kind of slowed down towards the end. But if Armstead could play the way he did in the playoffs to get some of that attention off of Bosa, if Ebukam could take a little bit of a step up, or whoever's playing the opposite DN could take a little bit of a step up, I think we could definitely see uh, a defensive player of the year type season for Bosa because, teams are just going to double him. If you don't have much help from your other players, they're just going to double him every time. But if you have those other players that step up, they'll have to block him with just a tackle and maybe a running back or something, and Bosa can still get through that easily. So it's definitely a real possibility.
Yeah, I think he's in line to compete for it definitely. And we saw Trey Lance this week in practice. They were saying little up and down, little erratic, but you also saw the huge plays down the field. Him and Danny Gray are having that crazy connection that you love to see. What do you think about that tandem heading into the season?
Yeah, I mean, in seasons past, we didn't really use that speedster type of guy because Jimmy couldn't really get the ball down the field like that. But now you have Trey Lance who can get the ball downfield, so we're probably going to see a lot more explosive plays like that are 40, 50 yards, you know what I mean? So I think it's a great connection. I'm excited to see it this year.
Yep. So we're getting ready for the game here at 7. We're about 28 minutes out. Um, you have anything else you want to talk about prior to the start of the game?
One last thing that I'm pretty excited to see is the Nate Sutfield and Brock Purdy, specifically Purdy. Sutfield looked good. He had that pass to Ray McLeod, his first play, and then I felt like he kind of stalled out after that. But Purdy, when Purdy came in, he looked pretty nice. He's obviously going against the third and fourth stringers, but I thought he looked pretty good. He had that one like I think it was his first or second pass. It was kind of like a dud, almost picked off. I don't really know what he was doing,
Yeah,
but
that one was terrible.
yeah. After that, he looked really good. So I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see them get into it.
Yeah, that one drive was really nice where he threw that like back shoulder touchdown and then the
Yeah, two-point
same exact
conversion.
play for the 2 point. And then
Hmm.
he was getting out of some pressure. Kind of looked like a little poor man's Johnny Manziel back in college, Johnny Manziel. But yeah, the arm strength definitely was lacking on that one throw.
Yeah, definitely. But besides that, I don't really have anything else. What about you?
Nope. If anybody has any questions, prior to the game, leave a comment real fast. You want to hop on, say something about the game, let us know, and we'll send the link to the chat. Um, but yeah, we do our pregame primer 1 hour before every game this season will be live. Um, so yeah, subscribe if you're watching this, and let's get to 100 subs.
Yep.
Keep growing. Um, we'll wait a minute, see if anybody wants to leave a question or come live for. We'll be on maybe 5 more minutes.
I have a
Um,
question for you in the
yeah,
meantime. There's a little thing going around Twitter today that I saw, and it was saying if Levi's was in San Francisco instead of Santa Clara, that people wouldn't be complaining as much. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree.
Can
It's
you expand?
it's the like the stadium. It's okay, but the location and the stadium together is what makes people not like it.
Yeah.
They could, like, people loved Candlestick because of the area and the vibe it gave off. It was pretty run down, but it's right on the water, right in the bay. Um, it's where the team is actually located or is supposed to be located. Um, that's why I like these, like Minnesota. Minnesota is middle of nowhere, at least to me. But they got this crazy stadium. So you're like, oh shit, like this is insane. But I think people would still complain, just a lot less if it was in San Francisco.
Yeah. And somebody said too, it was like it doesn't get to 100 degrees in San Francisco, you know what I mean? Because when you're in those 400 sections up at the top of Levi Stadium, and it's like the early season and that sun's beating down on you and it's super hot, it's brutal. It's brutal. If you're in San Francisco, you always kind of have cloud coverage.
The
You're
ocean
obviously going to
breeze.
be a lot cooler because the ocean, the bay is right there. It's right next to the stadium. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think people would complain as much as if Levi's was in San Francisco, but um, it is what it is. We're not Levi's is going to be Levi's for a long time.
For them, I say go to a game in Tampa during the day. I was out there 2 years ago for the season opener against the Bucks, and I got there maybe like 20 minutes, 30 minutes prior to game time, sitting in my seat and my jersey was drenched because I was just soaked, sweating the whole damn time. It was terrible. But you got to do what you got to do to watch the team.
Yeah. Are you going to make it to one game before you move on out of there?
The plan is right now, yes, I will be going to the Panthers game in North Carolina.
Gotcha.
It was between that one and Atlanta, but I decided I think the Panthers would be a better game,
So you
personally.
think the Panthers are better than Atlanta?
Yeah, I just think they have more talent on the team.
Gotcha.
McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Brian Burns. I think they have a pretty good
Baker.
safety. Yeah, whatever with Baker, but I think they have a pretty good safety too.
Chen, I think his last
Yeah.
name.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think that and I've never been to North Carolina. So I've been to Georgia.
Yep. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for our pregame primer. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Like Joseph said, we'll be doing this every week before the game, about an hour or so before kickoff. So tune in. We'd like to see a little bit, some fan interaction, like to talk with you guys. It'd be fun to get a little environment going around before the game starts. Subscribe. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers before the start of the regular season. We're at 80. We're going to be doing a little giveaway once we hit 100 subscribers as well. So stay tuned for that. It should be a fun one. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I'll start putting up the live stream um like on Friday before the game. I just keep forgetting, so then I put it up like 20 minutes before we go live so that nobody is aware that we are going live. So
Yeah.
that's
I,
on
th-
me. But
I think our next game is what, on Thursday night or something?
is it?
So
Yeah, it
within like
is.
four days, they were saying 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
So we'll be live an hour before that game. So tune in for that one so we can talk some ball with y'all.
Yep. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.